And welcome to another episode of the O3C podcast, coming to you from O3C Games. My name is Jonathan Dunn, and I'm joined by Chris Dow.
The Nintendo Switch 2.
That's what we're doing. It's a bonus episode. So boom. I'm not going to do any announcements.
No point.
We're just going to get straight into it. We're going to get straight into talking about the biggest news from the last month in gaming, which is a full 20 days ago it happened now, at point of recording.
Finger on the pulse.
Oh, we've had time for it to percolate. We've had time to meet in person and discuss it, even. So you can't say that this isn't incredibly considered journalism. Full reveal of the Switch 2, the Switch 2 games, Switch 2 upgrades, all of that jazz. Let's just get into it. The console itself. I mean, we knew a lot about what the specs were likely going to be, so there weren't any massive surprises. It's bigger than the Switch 1, with a bigger 1080p LCD screen, which supports up to 120 frames per second, which is cool. The Joy-Cons attached by magnets. They can also be used as a mouse for controlling first-person games or tactical games or 1-2 Switch 2. Power-wise, it's pretty powerful. It's on par with PS4 Pro and the Steam Deck. So that's pretty cool. It's got 4K upscaling tech in there when it's docked. 120 frames per second screen, that was a bit of a surprise for me. Although I'm still to be sold on that because I don't think I can tell the difference between 60 frames and 120 frames per second. Certainly not anywhere near as clearly as I'm told I'm supposed to. It's not the same as going from 30 to 60.
No.
It's buttery smooth, but I don't know. I'd rather have a crisper 60 frames per second image than a blurrier 120 frames per second image.
I mean, I think that's what you're going to get in basically every single game that releases for this machine.
yeah, that's pretty much. I know we'd all hoped for an OLED screen. We knew we weren't going to get it. But apparently the reports from people using the console in person say the LCD screen is actually really quite incredible. It's nothing like the original screens in the Switch 1, so that's nice. There's camera, microphone stuff built in and available as peripherals for networking and social stuff. Internal storage is 256 gig, which isn't that big, especially when most AAA games could easily take up half of that.
Yeah.
I say that like gearing up to download the remaster of Oblivion that's just been released.
How big is that?
119 gigs.
God.
I know. That's mad. And to boost the storage of the Switch 2, you have to fork out a fair few quid for a micro SD express card as well. So yeah, I mean, I don't care that much about the storage because I'm very happily, I'll be playing 1, maybe 2 games at a time.
I think that's fair.
So
I think that's fair.
Deck, I've got a couple of games downloaded on it, but
For audio listeners, he's pulling a face.
I'm pulling a face. You can hear it. You can
hear the face in the gaps.
You hear the face in the gaps. What do you make of all of the gubbins, Chris?
Overall, I think the specs are broadly what we kind of hypothesised generally. And like you say, an awful lot of it was leaked for a long while before we actually got official confirmation. So it wasn't a surprise that it was like, oh, it's about the power of PS4 Pro. Like you said, oh, it's probably a little bit more powerful than the Steam Deck. It's what we were kind of expecting.
Like an old man struggling to reach the urinal. It leaked well in advance.
It absolutely did. Absolutely did. I mean, if you look at, say, Cyberpunk running on the Switch 2, it's very comparable to how it performs on a PS4 Pro or a Steam Deck. That's the power we're looking at. That's not to say Nintendo aren't going to get a bit more juice from the squeeze, as they're developing for the machine, for the specs. It's not cross-platform, so they don't need to kind of worry about that. Mario Kart, Donkey Kong, we'll talk about a little bit later, but they both look beautiful. So, they're doing the business. The LCD screen, like you said, it was a mild disappointment because we all love an OLED, but equally, in direct comparisons, I think it's bright enough that we won't miss it as much as we could have because tech has moved on. The Switch is coming up for almost a decade old. It's 8 years old now, and LCD tech has moved. It's got better. So that's one thing. The 120 hertz HDR display in the handheld, was not expecting that. I still think the option to scale to 4K when it's docked will get used maybe 3 times across the entire console's life, because it just doesn't have the oomph unless it is all like AI upscaling, which, may that be amazing, but I think it's kind of a tech boast overkill, really. I think it's just for the sake of saying, it can do 4K. It's like, yeah, it can on a static pixel.
It's sort of how I felt about like docking the Steam Deck. That's why I never do that. Because it's going to look better playing handheld.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And like the machine is just not going to be capable of running a native 4K image unless it's extremely limited in what it's trying to push out. So maybe I'll be proven wrong, and like say the Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime is absolutely going to be crisp at 4K, but I don't know. So I'll wait until Digital Foundry unpick some of those details, I think, before I believe it. Some of the other stuff you mentioned, like the microphone camera stuff, they're pushing this idea of game chat as being a big deal. I don't know how much I'll personally use it.
It's not for us, is it? It's not for us.
We're not the most social gamers. I mean, maybe if we start doing loads of Switch 2 video content, it would be an easy way of being like, oh, there's Jonathan's face in the corner. But I don't know. It does show, which I think is a good thing, though, that Nintendo are being a bit more serious about networking, because on the Switch, if you remember, the solution for playing, say, Splatoon 2 with friends was, go and get your phone, download an app, and as long as you're calling them already, you can chat with them whilst the game's playing. Yeah. And that was essentially the solution.
I mean, it's no different from calling you up on a landline.
No, it's ridiculous.
And playing Pokemon together over the phone.
Yeah, and that worked when we were 12. So what's the problem now, is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
The other thing that, again, you mentioned, the mouse mode, I think, is interesting. Again, I don't know if it's something I'm going to use that often. I don't traditionally play like first-person shooters with mouse and keyboard. That was never my choice, because I never had a PC to do it. I know you were very fond of that for a long while, and you've kind of softened on the idea of analog sticks over the years. But it's nice to see in all the kind of showcase stuff, it seems to work pretty well on basically every surface. It seems very responsive, seems to do the job. But in day-to-day usage, I don't know how comfortable it's going to feel, because a mouse generally is quite wide when you use it on a computer, and a Joy-Con is generally quite thin. So I don't know if it quite has like the width and the heft that you expect. So it might take a bit of adjustment. Like it's going to be.
How long do you think it'll be until somebody releases a third-party thigh strap mouse mat?
Oh, day one. In the same way that Wii had like inflatable rafts to sit in and pretend to paddle a boat and everything else. No, I don't know. Like, I think all this stuff, choice is always good. It's unfortunate that, as we've seen in, say, the Switch with the HD Rumble, as we've seen in all these different things like the pad for the PS5, it's great as a showcase, and then it depends if people are going to use it. And if people don't use it, it could be that in 6 months we just stop hearing about it.
Yeah.
So, I'm hopeful that it will make, say, a strategy game much more viable to play on the sofa. And as I mentioned a few times, like, I really like having my Steam controller to play mouse games on the TV when I'm using my Steam Deck. And it has that kind of purpose. So this could essentially bridge that same gap. So I'm happy it's there. We'll see how it works. We'll see what games come out that use it. And then we'll either say big thumbs up or shrug our shoulders from there. But overall, the Switch 2, we knew what it was going to be like. I'm happy it's coming. I've already pre-ordered one. I will gladly be playing it day one, as I know you will be too.
Well, let's talk about the big Switch 2 game.
Yes.
Certainly the biggest original launch title, which is Mario Kart World.
Yeah.
Which I absolutely called the title of as soon as the direct started, and I just went, I reckon this is going to be called Mario Kart World. I mean, it's not like it's. I mean, it's a pretty obvious title. It's not the biggest boast of my career, to be honest. It's like, what's this obviously going to be called? Oh, I know. Give me a point. Mario Kart plus Forza Horizon equals yes, please. That's the equation there. When we got the first tease of the new Mario Kart at the start of the year, I think we talked then about how it could be an open world Mario Kart. We'd already discussed that the series, had to take a big new swing to keep people interested, rather than just Mario Kart 8 with some more tracks. In typical Nintendo fashion, the mad thing about the Switch 2, Mario Kart World, basically everything that's going to happen in this next generation, the thing that sold everyone on all of that, you can play as a cow. That's it.
Yeah,
It's throw the
completely.
hat on the frog. You are the frog.
Yeah.
It's that all over again. It's all the info you need. I did actually watch the Mario Kart Direct that followed a couple of weeks later, and to be honest, there wasn't really any real new information in there beyond like just what you would expect from this premise. It was
Yeah.
just going, this is what you do in this game, and it's like, yeah, but
You
it
race.
it sounds amazing. I can't wait. I think I'm going to spend a long time playing it. And you know, the scope for expanding it is going to be enormous. Yeah.
I've got very little to add, really, because I deliberately watched nothing since the reveal trailer in the Switch 2 Direct initially. I know that we had the extra kind of info dump a few days ago. I didn't watch that because for me, open world Mario Kart was enough to sell me on it being worth the money and for me to pick it up at launch. And the cow, icing on the top.
Absolutely. Absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Nintendo also revealed some other new games coming to Switch 2 with a brand new 3D Donkey Kong game, Donkey Kong
Yes, please.
Bonanza.
Yes,
Looks
please.
very, very nice. It's coming from the team that developed Mario Odyssey, so
Yes, please.
it can be extremely, extremely nice.
Yes, please.
A bit of a strange twist with the GameCube's Kirby's Air Ride getting a sequel in Kirby Air Riders, which is a very niche game to begin with. It could prove to offer, I don't know, something very different to what Mario Kart World does, because if it doesn't, it's not going to get a look in at all.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
honestly, like the only way Nintendo, I think, could get any sort of traction from a by launching another racing game at the same time as a new Mario Kart is if it was F-Zero.
yes,
You know, that's
yeah.
different enough. But even still, like, people be like, I've got Mario Kart, you know, that's what I want to do. A new Hyrule Warriors game, which I'm definitely up for. This one, Age of Imprisonment, is set around the story events of Tears of the Kingdom in the way that Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity referred to its frame rate. No, that served as a prequel to Breath of the Wild. The original Hyrule Warriors DX on Switch 1 ran pretty well. Age of Calamity definitely struggled,
No,
so
yeah,
it'll be nice to see a Hyrule Warriors game running well on Switch 2. Metroid Prime 4 has some new details revealed, including the fact that it's going to be a cross-gen release with the Switch 1. Mouse controls for Metroid is an enticing prospect if they work as well as they're, you know, being presented to work. But like you said, we shall see. And just in a massive dick swing by Nintendo, they also confirmed about 100 massive AAA third-party games will be getting Switch 2 ports, like Cyberpunk, Elden Ring, FIFA, all the big ones.
yeah.
It's great to see that, you know, developers are still on board to support Nintendo in the way that they were with the Switch 1. And I'm sure, like, ridiculously ambitious ports are still going to be part of the deal for some, you know, for some games. I don't know what the equivalent of getting The Witcher 3 to run on the Switch would be, but it probably hasn't been released yet.
Something will. Something will.
I think the biggest surprise in all of these game reveals was the fact that we're getting a brand new From Software game as an exclusive for Switch 2.
Very odd.
As the trailer started, I jokingly posted in the Discord, "Hey, Bloodborne 2." And then as the trailer went on, I was convinced that that's what we were getting, even though it wouldn't make any sense. And it's not quite what we've got, but it does look very Bloodborne-y. This is the Dusk Bloods, it's called, and it looks to be in a similar vein, I think, to what FromSoft are doing with Elden Ring Night Rain.
Yeah,
which
it's
is create
online
like a,
focused, isn't it?
yeah, roguelite kitty royale multiplayer experience, possibly in the world of Bloodborne or somewhere similar. Obviously, I'm very much up for it. What do you think?
Well, in terms of all those announcements, like I'm very excited about DK Bonanza. My brother did mention when I said that game was coming, he was like, they're really bad at naming things, aren't they? So he wasn't sold on the pun, but yeah, I think it's quite cute. I was very excited as soon as I knew it was coming from the Mario Odyssey team. You know, I'm very hopeful that long term we see a full Odyssey 2, but for now I think it will do nicely. Looks gorgeous. I think it has the potential to steal back the crown from Astrobot as the best non-Mario if they do it well.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll be proved wrong, and when I actually get it in my hands, I go, maybe it's not quite there. But
Yeah.
to have something from Nintendo that's not Mario, but that could kind of elevate itself up is quite exciting. Like you mentioned, Kirby Air Riders is a curious choice for a big reveal like this because it has its niche fans. It's popular with the people it's popular with, but it was never a tentpole release even on the GameCube. I think the thing that Nintendo are hoping sells it is that this is one of Sakurai's other passions alongside Smash Bros. And Kid Icarus Uprising that he did in the 3DS. And that makes me think it will probably be very mechanically good, but I'm still unconvinced that it's going to set the world on fire as a mainstream, everyone's going to rush out and buy Kirby Air Ride sort of thing.
Yeah.
The third-party stuff is exciting, if only because I buy all my games at the moment on the Switch pretty much, or digitally on Steam. And having a new place to buy all of my third-party stuff is cool. I like the idea of my shelves continuing to grow. There's this huge list of ports. We probably expected some of these anyway. Elden Ring, Cyberpunk. I think they are sensible picks for Nintendo to have showcased in the same way Skyrim was like the perfect third-party poster boy for the original machine. But as much as I'll probably buy a lot of these for the Switch 2, they're not the type of things that would have made me plonk down the cash for the console if Nintendo weren't also hyping up their own releases. Because the long and short is always, you buy a Switch, you bought a Wii U, you bought a Wii, whatever it was before, to say, I get to play a big Mario game, I get to play a big Mario Kart game. So it's nice that they've really pushed like several titles, I think, at launch, rather than sort of, saying, there's Breath of the Wild and something else. As we have the Switch, and the Switch did gangbusters, but they were essentially saying you've got 1-2 Switch and Breath of the Wild on launch day, and that was it.
I mean, it was the only way they were going to sell 1-2 Switch.
Yeah.
I haven't, like Snake Pass or whatever it was called.
Yeah. There's nothing else.
Nothing else. That's what buy it.
But here they're pushing a lot more, so they seem to be really saying, let's get on board here. This is the next thing, so let's really push it. But
do you know what else they're pushing?
What are they pushing?
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, of course.
Which now means it's rivaling GTA 5. Sorry, for it's how many generations?
3 generations, isn't it?
3 generations. I mean, it's not quite the same, obviously.
Yeah.
Because, but I think this is where Nintendo are going to do a lot of business is with Switch 2 upgrade packs for Switch 1 games, because it's a very exciting premise. It's an instant gratification seeing your favourite games look and run about 100 times better on your shiny new console for the cost of a London pint, or or folded in with your Switch Online subscription, or even just as a free patch. Like, if you're not converted already, when you see Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom running in 4K at 60 frames per second on a mate's Switch 2, you'll be like, I probably can't go back now. The nice thing is that, like, from what I've seen so far, the paid updates are also coming with more content too, like new features for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, extra worlds and content for things like Mario Party and Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and then games that you would expect to have a quick upgrade patch will just be free. So like the Link's Awakening remake and Echoes of Wisdom. If they'd have charged for those updates to fix the horribly inconsistent frame rates, that would have been rude, very rude. But yeah, I think this is. I mean, obviously, I know nothing about software development, but it seems like it's a pretty quick, easy buck for a lot of for a lot of games. To cash in, going is going to look better, or even if it's you're not cashing in on selling an upgrade pack, going, well, it's going to look better on Switch 2, so I'll buy it again, or that's where I'll buy it instead of buying it on Switch 1.
Yeah. I think it's really exciting. I am looking forward to playing Breath of the Wild at a nice, smooth 60 frames per second. I'm looking forward to actually finishing Kirby with the promise of extra stuff as well.
Yeah.
And knowing that games like Link's Awakening are going to get these free patches to just run properly is great, because the game was never the problem. It's just, it didn't feel as good as it could have, and the promise of other games getting those tweaks or these patches or whatever is exciting too. And what hasn't been mentioned at all, and I'm interested to know if this would affect something like Link's Awakening as well, like without a patch, is that a game like that runs with an unlocked frame rate. That is the issue of why it drops frames, because it has an unlocked frame rate and there's a clear bottleneck on either the GPU or the CPU, and that's what causes these kind of stutters. And we don't know how sort of Switch 1 software runs on the Switch 2 if unpatched, if just kind of left as is. And nothing has really been shared so far in terms of natural performance upticks like this. And it's exciting potentially, because I remember back to when I got the PS5, certain games, like I remember playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance, it ran at maybe 20 frames a second on the base PS4, and then suddenly was just a silky smooth 60 on the PS5, just because it was naturally more performant hardware. And I wonder if having more grunt under the hood is going to do the same thing here. Like Nintendo said, the Switch 2 is doing backwards compatibility through kind of a hybrid of hardware and software, essentially emulation rather than there's a Switch 1 inside it. Yeah. And that means that we could see some interesting quirks. It could be that some games are not going to run right, which is a bit of a concern for me with the big library. But it's also potentially going to just smooth out some of those games that were like, we're not quite there. We could have just used a little bit more power, and they're potentially going to have that. So I don't know. I'll be testing many of my OG Switch games on launch day. I can tell you that for free.
Yeah.
I would love to see upgrade packs for some other games, like any of the Xenoblade games. They're absolutely fine, but a bit more performance, a bit more resolution, they're going to be even more fine. And I'm kind of expecting, but I don't know in what capacity, upgrades for big games like The Witcher 3 and for No Man's Sky and things like that, because they're already punching well above their weight. But then I imagine how good they could look with like slightly revised code or with high resolution textures or whatever. So again, all these things I would love to see just what happens as kind of an X thing. Should we talk about physical media? This is no.
Can you ask me what upgrade packs I would like?
Yes. What upgrade patch? What upgrade packs are you looking forward to? Outside of the ones we've already mentioned, is there other stuff that you would love to see done better, shinier?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, Xenoblade. I mean, I've parked Xenoblade Chronicles X for now with the expectation that it will have a Switch 2 upgrade pack. And I mean, I really, really enjoyed the first few hours of the game, although I was a little concerned with the environmental themes of humanity colonizing a new planet and immediately just assessing all of the wildlife as hostile and needing to be controlled and subdued. Like it actually upset me to see, because I think that is the general attitude of humans, just thinking they're superior to everything else wherever they go. So I'm hoping that the planet fights back later in the game and they have to learn to coexist, because I won't enjoy the game if I'm meant to be feeling good about destroying ecosystems.
You are the aggressor.
Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3 would be great. I mean, it's mad to think that I definitely would replay all of those games. Hundreds of hours of RPG there, but I will play them again if they get upgrade packs. Monster Hunter Rise, I'd love an upgrade pack for, especially because I've been quite disappointed with Monster Hunter Wilds, and going back to Monster Hunter Rise on the Switch it's a bit blurry and obviously pretty low frame rate, which is fine. And I'm sure that if I played it for a bit, I'd get used to it again. And I loved it and put in hundreds of hours into it originally. But an upgrade patch to get that running sort of similar to, how it's doing in its PC port and PS5 port would be, that'd be nice. That would be very nice. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity would be great to get that on, because I never finished it. Because
it was pretty wobbly.
A bit unpleasant. I'd love Dark Souls to have an upgrade patch, because the remastered version of Dark Souls that launched on the Switch launched at the same time as Dark Souls Remastered on other modern platforms, and it actually, like, when you look at comparisons, the Switch version basically just looks like Dark Souls unremastered.
Yes,
And it's such a go-to comfort game for me that I would love to have that running smoother, sharper.
I would say a Dark Souls trilogy release is reasonably tacked on, given the support that From Software has already 100%. Kind of pledged. Yeah. So give it 12 months. Yeah. It's coming.
There we go. I want that. One I put down, Astral Chain, just because people, not enough people have played it.
Yeah.
It looked and ran incredibly on Switch 1. Definitely a contender for the best looking Switch game. could blow me away all over again with an upgrade patch and a little twist. Dragon Quest Monsters, the recent Dragon Quest Monsters game. I played the demo and it was just so. I mean, we're not. It's not quite. It wasn't like Pokemon levels of bad, but it was just a bit bland and a bit choppy and everything. And I was like, oh, that gets an upgrade patch. I'll probably play that.
Yeah.
Deal with it. What about the physical? Oh, you bloody love a physical game, Chris.
Oh,
Have a moan. Go on.
Well, one thing I think has been handled incredibly poorly in this launch has been communication around physical media. And that's Nintendo's fault exclusively. I just don't think they've handled this very well. As the guy with the massive games library, it's great that they've said Switch 1 games will work. Unless they don't, which has basically been the first thing Nintendo have said. Like with Nintendo's announcement acting like it's all roses, if you look at their own webpage, it casually suggests that 3/4 of the library may have issues, which is not ideal. You know, I'll reserve judgment for launch. It could be, you know, that if the frame rate is better, they might claim that that's an issue because it's not how it was originally. I don't know. We'll wait and see. Switch 2 versions of Switch 1 games were initially thought to just be Switch 1 cartridges with download codes. That's now been confirmed by Nintendo to not be the case. They are just shiny red Switch 2 cartridges. So I've, you know, already sold my Breath of the Wild copy in readiness to replace it. Same as my Tears of the Kingdom. I want those shiny new boxes, which is, you know, unnecessary, but it's just how my brain works. In terms of other retail releases, it looks, now that the dust has settled, that the following is true. Firstly, the highest capacity Switch 2 cartridge at the moment is 64 gig. That's not big enough for a lot of big games. Let's just say that out front ahead of time. This is double the size of the biggest Switch 1 carts, which is good. But when current gen PS5 games, like you just said about Oblivion Remastered, frequently fail to fit on 100 gigabyte Blu-ray discs, it's not the upgrade necessarily needed for third parties all the time. Worryingly, and this is something that we still don't have confirmation on, but there's enough of a buzz now, it seems like it's probably the case. In addition to all this, there are a lot of publisher leaks now starting to say that Nintendo appear to be mandating that games can either be a 1 gigabyte cartridge or a 64 gigabyte cartridge with nothing in between. Whereas the Switch 1, you could have 4, 8, 16. It basically scaled like that. With none of those interim options, it means that we're probably going to see the end of the boutique physical landscape completely. I don't see how a publisher like, say, Limited Run or Super Rare or Strictly Limited, all these people that I've bought from for a long time, I don't think they can support the Switch 2 if they're having to buy the big boy carts every time. Because if an indie game is 500 meg, great, okay, it's going to fit on a little baby cart. But if it's even a little bit bigger, that's a huge uptick in cost for them. So, I don't know. We'll see. That's kind of quite scary for me as a person who has hoarded these games for so long. Not the end of the world. I realise this is a very, very small issue in the grand scheme of things, but it's whatever, you know, whatever does it for your own brain chemistry, isn't it? This is kind of corroborated as well by the other part of their strategy, which I'm not crazy about, the doomed game key cards that are essentially just empty cartridges that include a license key that allows you to download a full game from the internet. It's better than the code in the box stuff they've been doing on the Switch for a long time, which was literally an empty box that just had a scratch code inside. But it's still not great for preservation because it means that, you know, at the moment, great, the key cards mean you can lend a game, you can sell it on, stuff like that. That's an improvement. But it means that you could be paying 60, 70 quid for a new game. And then in 10 years, if the servers are gone, like they have done on the 3DS, like on the Wii U, those games don't exist anymore. If you say, I would like to play this game that's on a game key card, it'd just be like, no, you can't, actually. That's not a thing you can do. So, you know, looking at the launch lineup, that's like Bravely Default HD, Street Fighter 6, they're both these game key cards. And you'll essentially be told, if that were to happen, sorry, son, it's worthless now because we've sunset the store, which seems really silly. So I hope we kind of get a bit of clarity and we move away from this setup pretty sharpish. The answer really is just offer different size cartridges. It really is that easy. So I don't know if it's like an early manufacturing thing, and we'll see that potentially change in 6 months, 12 months, whatever, or something different. But I'm still going to buy a lot of games. You know, for launch, I've pre-ordered Mario Kart, I've pre-ordered Donkey Kong, I've pre-ordered, like I said, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom in their shiny new Switch 2 boxes. Cyberpunk hasn't appeared on any retailers yet, but I will be buying that for launch as well. And we'll see what my purchasing looks like going forwards with everything else. But there are these kind of retail caveats, which again, is not a problem for a lot of people. If you buy things digitally most of the time, you're not going to feel the effects at all. But for someone like me that generally has tried to sort of cultivate and curate a physical collection, just a little tiny tear on the end of what is otherwise a really exciting time for kind of games and new things.
I mean, I don't really care.
Thank you for giving me the soapbox anyway, though.
That's
But,
fine. That's fine. I mean, it's not going to change how I buy games.
No.
Because if I want a game day one, I'm going to buy it full price and then most likely trade it in. If it's a game that I know I'm going to keep and not trade in, it's probably going to be something that I'm going to spend double the RRP on a collector's edition or something for the shelf. Those games are very, very few and far between. And I only ever buy games digitally if they are discounted, so that won't change either. And certainly, looking at the increased cost of what some of the big games are going to be costing, it makes no difference to me because if assuming that sort of scales, it doesn't make a difference to me if I buy a game for £60 and trade it in for £30, or if I buy a game for £70 and trade it in for £40.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm hoping that that's the way it goes, because I don't see, I don't. I mean, I wouldn't pay £70 for a game that I wasn't sure I was absolutely gonna absolutely love, and I knew was going to be worth my money and worth my time. But because I know I'm going to trade it in, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anywhere near as much,
Yeah, you've got that fallback.
Yeah, but I mean, prices are going up for everything. I think the Switch is a decent sort of price point. I think looking at the cost of something like the PS5 Pro, it's more than twice as powerful as the Switch 2, but it's not a handheld. And you look at the Steam Deck, and that's how much is that?
I don't even know anymore. Is it 400 or thereabouts?
Probably.
It's probably in line or mostly.
Yeah. But you can't play Nintendo games on it, so and you can't detach the Joy-Cons.
I think the pricing issue has been really strange to watch unfold in real time, and I think I guess it's easy to say we're both in positions of relative privilege in that we have the disposable income to buy these things. I think it's really important to kind of say that generally, that it's like, okay, barring times when we might have a big bills to pay, we might have kind of other kind of costs which come from being adults in life and everything else. We are of a position and of financial stability enough to say, I would like to play that game. There's a good chance I can go and buy it, and it's not going to break the bank. It's not going to be the difference between eating or something like that. And it is worth saying, the Switch 2 is more expensive than we've had from the Switch 1. Games are expensive, controllers and hardware are expensive. And it does mean, because of what I've just said, that young kids or lower income families, it's going to impact them more than it is us. But I don't know why anyone is as surprised as they are when, like you said, the PS5 has gone up in price every 6 months since it's come out. It's not come down, which has never happened before for hardware, but it's gone up year on year. It's not come down. The PS5 Pro is still, $18 million, I think, if you buy it at retail.
Yeah.
And
99.
But games, this is the thing. Games have not risen with inflation at any point in the last 30 years, despite their production costs doubling, tripling, quadrupling. I don't even know what comes after that, 10-tupling. You get the point. They've got more and more expensive. So, no, I'm not that happy that my pre-order for Mario Kart is going to cost £75. Although I'm sure when things calm down a bit, retailers will eventually start skimming the costs like they always do. But it's an unfortunate side effect of the world being fucked. Beyond anything else, like global trade is being attacked by the leaders of the free world at present. And with production lines still, and perhaps never again, being able to recover post-COVID, it is unfortunately what it is. So it's one of those things that it's like, you don't have to like it, but I think it is important to be able to look at it as kind of like somebody can step back and say, I don't like it, but I understand it.
Mm.
And it's not the type of thing that Nintendo is suddenly going to say, it's £100 actually, and just be loss leaders on every machine. Like, they are very financially stable. They're not that stable. So, for any company to take a massive hit, I don't think it's going to happen anymore. Yeah. So we just have to kind of say, okay, it's expensive. It will come down in time. Let's hope things level out and everyone can enjoy the games that they enjoy. So, it is sad in a way, but at the same time, it is just the state of the industry and the state of the world, and that's just modern economics, unfortunately.
Well, let's end on a bit more of a positive note. And what are you most looking forward to? What are you most looking forward to the Switch 2?
I cannot wait just to open the box and hold a new piece of hardware. It's really silly. It doesn't matter what the hardware is. It can be kind of like really high tech stuff, the most expensive machine in the world, a brand new laptop, whatever. I get very excited. But equally, getting a new, when I got the Evercade, that's not a posh handheld, but to get it out, just be like, oh, it's shiny, peel off the screen protector. It's all the little things. I just love tech. I love holding new things. So that's the first thing. And then I'm just looking forward to probably playing Mario Kart for 5 hours on day one and just hopefully having a really great time, because that's the type of game as well. I'm sure Georgie will say, can I have a go? And, all my Switch 1 controllers are compatible, so we've got plenty of controllers to play. So it's stuff like that. I'm excited to be able to just play new games on new shiny things with the people I love.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right in saying that no, it doesn't matter. Something we hadn't actually mentioned yet. I'm actually looking forward to playing some GameCube games on my Switch 2.
Oh shit, I forgot about that.
Yeah, F-Zero GX is certainly going to get a lot of playtime.
It's too fast.
That is almost certainly going to be my conclusion within 2 minutes of playing it.
It's too fast.
Oh dear.
My brain.
Yeah,
my brain.
My eyes. But I'm very excited. Useless bandage days. I'm very excited for the Switch 2 upgrade packs for existing Switch games, not because they're going to make the games themselves better, but it will just make for a wonderfully refreshed feeling for some of my absolute favourite games. Like, I would find it hard to play through Tears of the Kingdom all over again on my my vanilla Switch or my Switch 1, because I know how huge an undertaking it is. But knowing that I can enjoy it being much smoother and prettier gives me the impetus to play through it all again, which I will do. Kirby and the Forgotten Lands is going to be one that I revisit for sure. I kept hold of that game after I beat it when it first came out, because I knew I'd want to play it again at some point. And also Nora's been enjoying playing it on her little Switch Lite, which is nice too.
Lovely.
So yeah. I can't wait. It's not long now. It's
not
6 weeks?
Roughly, yeah.
There we go.
Not long at all.
There we go. Well, there we go. There it is for our Switch 2 special bonus something or other. Might do another one when it comes out. Might not.
I think we will.
Probably will. Follow us on social media at O3C Games. Visit our website, o3c.games. And join our Discord. Give us your money.